Okay, hello, my lovelies. Um, I've just finished up writing out the podcast outline for this episode, also the episode that's going to be coming out next week. And I am really jazzed and excited to drop into this with y'all. It is a gorgeous Sunday afternoon here in the Dallas Metroplex area. For those of you that are watching on video, you can see I've got Jake with me hanging out in the background in full, just laid out on his back mode. Like, that's how gorgeous of a day it is. The sun is shining. We had some cold weather here last week. I mean, cold is so relative here in Texas. I'm like almost ashamed. By cold, I mean like mid 50s, high 50s. But it's warmed back up, and I'm really looking forward to a little bit later today getting out after doing some recording, getting to go out with Joe. We're going to go look for some more Christmas records at Half Price Books. Y'all, this is like my favorite thing to do. Joe bought me a record player at Christmas, and I'm obsessed now. I'm buying records all the time. So a little bit of what the day is going to look like for me. But as you all know from our episode last week with my incredible, the first therapist I worked with, Pere Underwood, we are talking about narcissism this month in the community. And though I don't always discuss on the podcast what we're learning there, I have found myself this month really just diving back into my past journals and assimilating and understanding narcissism and its partner, codependency. They kind of are like two sides of the same coin in different ways this month. And we actually did a workshop at the beginning of this month in the community where I got to take, what I've been newly processing, assimilating, seeing differently. And I got to teach everyone about how I like to now think of narcissism and codependency as being on opposite ends of the same continuum, a continuum that I am believing more and more stems from this deep pain and fear of believing I'm not enough and the lack of self-esteem that accompanies that. This was just like so revolutionary and mind-blowing for me when I realized, like, holy shit, both codependency and narcissism are ultimately on the same continuum. Like, they're coming from the same fear. Both narcissists and people who present as more codependent, I think deep down are struggling with feeling like they're not enough. As much as narcissists project loving themselves, they actually come from like a deep-seated amount of like lack of self-esteem. So, along with that, this month, I am also in the process of writing an article. And as y'all know, it will probably end up potentially being split into two articles because short form is not my strong suit, y'all. That I'll be sharing on Substack soon, where I'll be illuminating more of these ideas as well and sharing why I want us to perhaps consider thinking about our narcissism and codependency in this interlinked way, because it allows us to see those dynamics and recognize them for what they are, right? It's very important if you are in the dynamic with a narcissistic individual to be able to call it what it is, while also, though, not slipping into victimhood and villainizing of the other person, right? Because as we learned last month in the community, we were all up on the drama triangle and understanding the villain, the victim, and the rescuer roles that many of us play. I'm just seeing more and more how if we get too caught up in viewing, especially if we're more the codependent, viewing our partner as the villain, the narcissistic villain, that really only leads to disempowerment long term. So much beautiful work still coming, digesting around all of this that I'm excited to share with you guys on Substack. But for today's episode, so this is the beauty that came out of me diving back into all of these previous journal entries. I was wanting to really get back in my mindset of what it was like when I was going through that, the narcissistic abuse, all those pieces. And what came out of that instead, though, for this episode today, the episode coming next week, is I started to really see and feel again deeply what has been, I would say, the heart of my personal journey and my work as a coach, which is this idea that no matter how dark it feels or how unimaginable or impossible your future seems, you absolutely can change your stars. So I'm like, I'm giddy with excitement because this is like, y'all, this is the shit that I just get super excited about. And for all my girlies that are, that remember this movie, that phrase, change your stars. One of my all-time favorite movies is the movie A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger. I mean, come on. Can I just get some squeals? Just send me your energetic squeals through the podcast if you also loved this movie. Y'all, it's like one of my all-time favorite movies. Just so good. Heath Ledger, so gorgeous in that movie and just so funny. I think I love it most for how funny it is. I was like 13 at the time when that came out, and I just love the main, that is a movie built around this theme, right? And I still remember how much, if you'll remember in the beginning of the movie, there's this scene where he's a little boy and he's kind of up on a pillory. There's a man underneath him who's kind of in, I looked it up. It's called a pillory, but I thought of it as like stocks, and he's looking at all the knights and he says to his dad, like, one day I'm going to be a knight. And the man underneath laughs at him and says, like, oh my God, like a Thatcher's son, you might as well change the stars. It's never going to happen. And he's this young, he's a kid. When we're a kid, we don't understand the limits that the world places on us. So he turns to his dad and he says, can a man change his stars? And I love that his dad just so, he doesn't small him. He doesn't try to make him fit. Instead, he turns back to his son and he's like, yes, William, if he believes enough, a man can do anything. And that movie really, carries through that whole idea, right? And I definitely felt a deep, deep resonance with this idea. Like I can even feel it now in my chest, that your destiny is not fixed and it can be overcome through sheer belief and determination, right? I mean, this is just a belief. It's just an idea. It happens to be an idea that for me resonates strongly as my truth. And I love, part of what these episodes are for is really getting to illustrate for you all how I've seen this idea literally come true in my own life. Like, I don't know how to tell you guys, but I feel in many ways like I was a William way back when I'm going to share these journal entries from, looking out at a future that by all accounts, in many ways, just did not look like it was in the stars for me. And through the belief and the determination and the tools that I had and believing in myself, was able to change my stars. And I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to really get to come back in time and behind the scenes with me by sharing 4 personal entries from my journals from way back when I myself was in the process of considering. And then eventually, in the episode next week, I'll share a couple more that actually come after I had made the decision, like we were in the process of a separation, and then once I'd filed. So, as I said, in this episode, I'm going to start with sharing 2 entries, and they actually come all the way back from 2017. And that's from what I'm calling, as you can see from the episode title, I'm calling that the before, okay? As they were written when I was still considering divorce and before I had really made a decision. Next week's episodes will be more about when we're separating and the after once I had filed. Now, why I felt this was so important right now, especially building off of episodes I'd done right before my episode with Pare, is I'm just seeing right now, like I've got women in the community, I've got one-on-one clients, I've got women I'm meeting on 90 minutes that are in this moment, that are in these dark nights of the soul, that are, up above looking out going, can I change my stars? And dealing with just like the really difficult experiences of like, fuck, this is really hard. And I wanted these episodes to really be like, yes, I know how hard it is, and to kind of provide the framework, right? When you know who I am now, what my life looks like, what I share on the podcast, and then where I've come from, I think it can hopefully give you all a lot of perspective, a lot of seeing that back then I only had a dream. I don't even know if you could, yeah, I mean, I'll go say it was a dream, a pipe dream, a hope that I could be this version of me and have a life that feels like mine does now. And back then I didn't know the how of what it was going to take to get there. Like I can look back now, hindsight, and go, oh, there's the patterns. That's what I was doing. But y'all, back then in these journal entries, the future was unwritten. It was a complete and utter black box, unknown. And all I really had, as you'll hear in some of these entries, is the deep burning feelings. At times, I just had this fire and this being lit up from the inside kind of energy that I call now my soul calls. Like, I believe that's what that energy was. And I literally took the path from just letting those calls, those feelings pull me forward through all of the highs and the lows of the journey I had ahead of me. So the beauty in the different entries that I picked is you'll get to kind of see some big contrast, like moments where it is dark, I am not really seeing or feeling the fire, I'm really doubting, and then moments where it was like, fuck yeah, I deserve more. Now, before we dive in, I have a couple caveats that I just want to clarify straight out the gate. So, first, and really in a lot of ways, very, very important for me is, y'all, I just more and more, especially, I mean, this year, definitely, I am realizing just how much immense privilege that I came to considering divorce from as a white woman in America who was married to a white man who also had succeeded financially from his white privilege. So I want to very clearly, as before I share these, acknowledge that my baseline of where I was starting coming out of my divorce, although difficult in some big ways, right? I mean, as you all know, I was a stay-at-home mom. I had no resume. I had no work experience. I graduated from college 10 years earlier, but had nothing in that field. I had no prospects of where I was going to go working, like nothing in the work front. But I abso-fucking-lutely, y'all, knew at least, mentally when I was considering divorce, like I was going to have assets from the divorce that would allow me to figure things out. And they did. What I got coming out of my divorce allowed me to have space and time to invest in myself. And from there, get to make the very privileged decision of going, what am I inspired about? What am I passionate about? Oh, I want to be a coach. I'm going to go, invest in coach training. And then through that coach training, I am going to build a business and, really work for myself. Now, I want this to be clear because I think privilege absolutely needs to be calculated in understanding people's stories, and especially if you're at all comparing yourself to somebody. But in the same vein, I also don't want you, though, to somehow look at my story and go, Well, it worked for Britta because of that. To compare yourself to me